A lot of women wrote to me and said that we had nearly given up, because we've gone through this whole ordeal and such a difficult phase in our life. And I said, Don't give up. Don't do that. You still can conceive. You can still, the fact that you are being pregnant, that's a good sign that you can conceive.
Yeah.
But for whatever reasons, miscarriages happen. That's not the end of the world. And
sure.
I was very positive during mine. After 2 miscarriages, I was still very positive, with not much of studies that are done on pregnant women, because for obvious reasons, you can't really do so many studies on pregnant women with the vaccine. I chose not to take it. So a guy, obviously, the best thing he can do is just, maybe it's not like they need we need someone to talk to. Maybe it's just that hug, maybe it's just being there and listening. Maybe it's sometimes just be quiet. So I am very happy with the fact that Bajji is very hands-on, and he's very, he loves kids. He absolutely dotes on children. So for me, it's great to see him with that bond. I think especially with his daughter, postpartum depression, of what you're talking about, was something which is very common in the UK because people speak about it.
Hi Geeta, welcome to Pinkvilla.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here with us today, Geeta. And before we start talking about other things, I want to congratulate you once again for becoming a mother for the second time.
Thank
you. Joanne was born in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I have 3 family members who are July born. In fact, I have about 7 family members who are born in July. So July is a very busy month for me.
7? That's a lot.
Yes, I do. I have 2 sister-in-laws. I have a nephew. I have husband. I have 2 kids.
How has this time been? Of course, you have become, you have been a mother before to Hinaya. So I'm not sure how new the process would be, but I'm sure it's interesting, right?
It is. It's different because when Hinaya was born, it was just about her. So all the focus, attention was on one child. Now, as a parent, you have to adjust and manage both kids. So you have to balance the attention and the focus and your time, your energy on 2 kids. So it's definitely a lot harder, but it's great fun.
In any way, pregnancy is a very difficult time, in the sense one has to be very careful. And with pandemic around, you must have had to take a lot more precautions than usual. How was that time for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear of not able to step out because you're looking after yourself, your child inside, your daughter, not being able to be vaccinated. So you have to be extra precautious, and the fact that it was at its peak at that time. So we really couldn't step out. Physical activity was very, very bare minimum. During Hinaya's pregnancy, I was extremely active. So I did a lot of classes. I did aquanatal classes. I did pre-yoga, prenatal yoga. Although I did that during this pregnancy as well, but it was more outdoors. It was with other people. The whole atmosphere was different. There was not so much of this anxiety and this whole fear, and your mind was much more at ease. This time with this whole thing, it was definitely a very different experience. And I didn't step out. I didn't meet any friend. I didn't meet anyone during ever since lockdown had anyway started. The pandemic had started. So it was the 2 years where it was definitely difficult, but easy at the same time, in the sense that I was relaxed at home. I was in the comfort of my own home.
Speaking about vaccines, what's your take on vaccines? I heard some, read some articles, heard some theories where some people suggest that pregnant women should take vaccines. Some say they shouldn't take vaccines.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a personal choice, but what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so that's it. Like, there's so many different things that are coming out, information that confuses oneself, that should we not, And I feel when I was pregnant, I didn't want to take the vaccine. Although it was advised at that time anyway not to. The government, the central board, everyone had suggested, my gynaec had suggested that, you don't take the vaccine.
Sure.
There was no, it was advised at that time that we should not take it. Now I think maybe it's changed. Maybe, it's allowed to be given to pregnant women and lactating women. But personally, I wasn't going anywhere. I was
Hmm.
at home, and I felt with not much of studies that are done on pregnant women, because for obvious reasons, you
Yeah,
can't really do so many studies on pregnant women with the vaccine. I chose not to take it. Uh,
sure.
Protecting my child and not knowing what the implications would be. Um, so I, like you said, it's to each to their own. But I think
Absolutely.
maybe, take the right advice from your gynec. He would know best. I was
Hmm.
advised at that time not to.
Sure.
But if the doctor suggests that you should, then obviously you should.
Sure. Have you taken your vaccines now?
I will be now, because he was just born. So now that I will be traveling in the near future, so I will be definitely taking the vaccine now.
Geeta, you recently very bravely spoke about miscarriages. You said that you had two miscarriages. Correct me if I'm wrong. One was in 2019 and one was in 2020. Now, firstly, it really needs courage to speak out about this in a public space. For all those women out there, who are dealing with the same situation, what would you like to suggest to them? Because you really stood up and you kept yourself gathered and you fought it really well. What suggestion would you like to give to others?
Yeah, well, I spoke about it because I realized how common it is. And there's a lot of friends of mine who have gone through it, and there's a lot of women who are going through it. And the best platform to talk about it is obviously your social media, social platforms. And it really, I was overwhelmed with the response I got, and I realized how important it is to talk about these things, because it is common. It's a very traumatic time for a girl and a woman to go through, because it's a part of you, and I can say that the moment you know you're pregnant, I know for a fact a lot of women, probably 99% of women, you start planning for the future, the 9 months. So
Of course.
what's going to happen, how are you going to go about it, this beautiful bundle of joy that's going to come into your arms. And when that moment happens, where it's the worst moment of your life, that you lose that little life inside you, it definitely takes a toll on you, and it definitely is a very hard thing to go through, and especially if you don't have the support around you, it's even harder. So I wanted to talk about it because after Jovan was born, I realized a lot of women who come to me and they said they're not able to conceive. They're asking questions that what should I do, and I realized that something like this, where maybe being a celebrity, they feel that our life is so easy, and that you just see the end result, that the journey, that we've got this beautiful baby in our arms, but the whole journey towards that, how hard it is even for us to conceive. Sometimes the more we talk about it, it can give other women hope. And that's what happened when I spoke about it. So many women had contacted me, wrote to me and said, thank you so much for giving us this hope. Because I didn't want women to give up. I didn't want women to lose that hope that it will not happen. Even after 2 miscarriages, it still can happen, and it will happen. You have to have that belief. You have to have that positive mindset, and believe that it will happen. Yes, it's the worst time, and your hormones are all over the place, your emotions, especially during this pandemic where you can't really go out, you can't meet anyone, you're confined in your space, and and things can get tough.
Correct.
But I realized that no, I have to talk about this, because as a celebrity, as someone who has a voice, I wanted to reach out to women who are going through this time, during this difficult time, and let them share their thoughts and their emotions, and I can maybe help someone out there, and bring that hope into their life. A lot of women wrote to me and said that we had nearly given up, because we've gone through this whole ordeal and such a difficult phase in our life. And I said, don't give up. Don't do that. You still can conceive. You can still, the fact that you are being pregnant, that's a good sign that you can conceive.
Yeah.
But for whatever reasons, miscarriages happen. That's not the end of the world. And I was very positive during mine. After 2 miscarriages, I was still very positive.
But in such times, the family becomes the biggest support, and that's someone you rely on. You really want that support from them. What role did Harbhajan play during this time for you?
So that's the thing. Like, I feel like a woman's connect and a woman's attachment to the baby starts from a much earlier stage than what maybe a guy will go through, a father will go through, because it's happening inside our body, right? We are the ones to feel it. We are the ones to get your body's changing, your hormones are changing, everything starts kicking in.
Sure.
So a guy, obviously, the best thing he can do is just, maybe it's not like they need we need someone to talk to. Maybe it's just that hug, maybe it's just being there and listening. Maybe it's sometimes just be quiet. Just zip your lips and just listen to what she has to say. Just let her cry, let her vent, and just hug her, just be that companion, that support, and give her that hope, give her that positivity around, don't give her the negativity. Maybe, some men may blame their women or whatever, maybe giving them discouragement, or saying it's okay, let's leave it, don't give them that support, give them the moral support, give them the compassion, the empathy, everything that a woman requires at that time. That's all you can do. A guy maybe will not understand as emotionally as what a woman will go through at that time.
But Bhaji was that supportful.
He was amazing. Yes, he was very supportive, and the fact that he looked after Hinaya as well, and he's very hands-on father, in fact. So it's great to have that helping hand around the house, and being very, very hands-on with the kids. I think it's very important for a father, because see, we are the ones who go through it 9 months. We are the one who carry the kids, and that different bonding we have with the child is very different to a father's. So the father's role actually starts the moment the child's born.
Yes.
And that's when we require them to bond with the child as well, because it's as much as theirs as it is, obviously as much as they are ours. So I am very happy with the fact that Bhaji is very hands-on, and he's very he loves kids. He absolutely dotes on children. So for me, it's great to see him with that bond. I think especially with his daughter, I think a father and daughter have a different connection.
Lovely. I would also like to take this opportunity to talk about postpartum, Geeta, which I don't think is a very talked about subject, and is a very important phase again for a woman. And correct me if I'm wrong, but postpartum is a phase after giving birth to a child, where a woman goes through multiple mood swings as well, has a lot of hormonal changes as well. Did you also go through a similar phase, and how to deal with it?
So thankfully I haven't, but I know very, very closely of people who have, and it is very difficult for women who go through such a thing, and it is very, very common as well. Maybe not spoken about like you said, but it definitely should be something that women speak more openly about, because women, we have so many hormonal changes in our life. Like every month we have our menstrual cycle, our hormones are going up and down. Then we have kids, after kids, everything, in our life, I think then you have menopause. So it's literally like a whole life journey of your hormones going up and down, your emotions, your body changes, your mood swings. And I feel like guys don't go through that. And I feel they don't understand this change. So I think it's more important for guys to also talk to professionals to understand what women go through, and to be there with them through
Absolutely.
that. Because the only person that's going to be so closely to a woman at that time is the husband, the spouse, right?
Sure.
Because after birth, it's the husband, the father, who's going to be there, and they're the ones who are going to really see that side of the woman. So I feel that really a woman needs to be very, very strong. It's okay to let yourself vent. I feel that's important. Don't keep it inside. Don't keep your emotions inside. Talk to someone.
Sure.
Talk to your mother, talk to a professional, talk to anyone who can help you during that time, because especially with the baby, it's very overwhelming. Postpartum, it's very overwhelming when you firstly go through it for the first time. It's a whole new world. When you're pregnant, again, your hormones are all over the place. When you deliver, your hormones are all over the place, right? And I think that when you have the baby, the only thing that we can have is the support around to help us through that, to help a woman go through, to make it as easy as possible. Sometimes it's not in your control. You don't know these feelings that are happening inside you. You don't know why you're going through it. You don't know what's going on. So many things come into play at that time. But what can one do? What can you do? Is be positive, meditate, pray, talk, let out your emotions. It's okay to, feel what you're feeling and cry and go through all that. Postpartum depression, of what you're talking about, was something which is very common in the UK because people speak about it. We were aware of this when I was in the UK and Hinaya was born there. A lot of midwives used to come to me every week after she was born to help us mothers speak about whatever we're feeling. And that's when I realized how amazing the therapy there is. Like, they actually come to you every week to make sure that the mother is able to handle whatever she's going through, this whole new journey. So every week the midwives would ask me, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything that's bothering you? And I realized that, wow, it's so supportive here. They actually help you during this journey. And that's something that should also be inculcated here as well. That, you have someone who's in touch with you regularly to make sure that the woman's being able to handle this whole new journey of motherhood. And kind of make themselves stronger, make them realize, maybe before, in generations before, they probably went through it, but they didn't realize what it was.
Sure.
Because generations before, they didn't even understand. They don't even know what postpartum depression is. Like, अच्छा ठीक है यार, ऐसा ही है, ये रोती रहती है फालतू में, क्या है उसको problem? A lot of family members would probably say that, कि क्या problem है इसको? Because mothers themselves wouldn't even realize what they're going through.
Correct.
But these things in the Western culture, in the Western world, is very, very common. It's very spoken about. And I feel that because it's so vocal, we realize what these things are. Now this whole thing is new. People are realizing, okay, this could be it. And I think this is why it's so important to talk about it and having these mediums to talk about things like this, so women realize that, there is something such as postpartum depression.
Absolutely. And thank you for speaking so vocally about it. More power to you. Thank you so much, Geeta. This was a lovely conversation.
Thank you.